This daf Yom Yerushalmi Terumos. In the article for addition, we are a daf Yudad Omen Aleph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 lines down. Tamatin Rabbi Yossi Omer, and that is in the Vilna on Omen Aleph. No, I think it's that in the base. Yeah, the third line down. Tamatinina. Okay. Tamatinina. Rabbi Yossi Omer says Shisha Dvoim Kli Beishamai Chumrei Beis Hillel. We learned in where is this? Edios, Perek Mishnah Beis. 6 cases where Beis Shammai was Beis Shammai was Mekel and Beis Hillel was Machmir. One of them, and this of course Rabbi Yossi Omer, there wasn't, not everybody agreed with this, and as the Kabbalah points out, the 4th parak of Edios, it's all the Mishnayos that everybody agrees that Beis Shammai is Mekel, Beis Hillel is Machmir. These are the ones in Parakeh where specific Tanoim had a Masorah that in these cases Beis Shammai was Mekel and Beis Hillel was Machmir. So Yosef says she should find Mekuli Beis Shammai Mekuli Beis Hillel. Of Ovei Magvin al Shulchan Beinu Nechol K'divrei Beis Shammai. You put chicken, which is only Isidor, or any bird, which is only Isidor Rabbana Bas B'Chalav, with cheese on a table, so you don't eat them together. That's Beis Shammai. But so many low level or Nechol, you can't put them on the same table. Tormin is Zaysin al Shemin. You can take truma from olives on oil, Vanavi Mal Yain, and from grapes on wine, K'divrei Beis Shammai, according to Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel ain't Tormin. Beis Hillel says this is, you can't take truma. Now this is difficult for us. That it sounds like b'diavad the truma is valid truma, but we said before that according to Beis Hillel, it's not just ain't Tormin. It's not valid at all. Inko Beis Shammai sounds like it's only true from the olives on their own. But according to Beis Hillel, seems to be a contradiction. That we said Rabbi Yossi holds that way, right? We learned at the end of the where is it? Halacha Beis. Yeah, the end of Halacha Beis. So that the Mishnah needs to contradict this. Amar Rabbanan said, "Leis kan zeisim al shemen." You're right. Leave olive. We're not talking about, or rather, we have to amend the Mishnah. It's not talking about olives on oil. When the Beis Hillel in that case was nothing. El shemen al zeisim. That this is oil on olives. The Rabbi Yossi. The Rabbi Yossi we know is mekel by oil on olives because he's mekel in mechatos. That's what we said previously. Rabbi Yossi Maggid Gesel Shevet mekel begetter mechatos. When the issue is mechatos, now you might not be that well. If we let you take truma off from oil of olives, you just take a little bit of oil, right, and not going to be makbid on the olives. And the oil coming from them that they become tar, but this is not machmir in that. So this case is going. This is talking about shem and alzeisim. The issue is get the mechatos. He's making that. So did Rabbi Yossi, because that's Rabbi Yossi shita. So the Gemara asks, Rabbi Yossi Omar. Then we learned that Rabbi Yossi in such case is truma. You have to take truma again. Tanya Rabbi Yossi Omer Beis Shammai Tormin Shemel Zaysim v'Yayin Navi. You can take truma from oil on wine, on olives, and from wine on grapes. So Beis Hillel ain't Tormin. Beis Hillel says you can't do it. But the moida that if you did do it, that you have to take out truma again. Rabbi Yossi shouldn't have to take truma again, because this is gera mechatos. So gera mechatos for him is not a problem. So so the if that's the case, how can we say according according to Beis Hillel, truma b'yachzor b'yitro, it said it should be completely valid truma again because we can't make chatos or make them. B'shein b'shein chemes. Going to answers. This is talking about where the first truma is no longer around. Interesting, right? He says that should be this according to Beis Hillel. You have to take a truma again after, which means after you pound the olives. That's where the first truma got lost before the olives were pounded, and he can't be korei shem truma again on it after Gemar Malacha. That's also what our mission is talking about. But if the first brisa, but first olives are still around after Kedisha, you can designate them as truma again, right? So that's the only that fixes it. You don't have to take off a second time. So it's not like truma b'yachzor b'yitro in all cases. Only case where the first ones you took a truma no longer around after the oil is pressed. But but if that truma is around, those asim, the oil is around. Let's say that our oil is around after the rest of the oil is pressed. So then you can already make it, rename it, so to speak, as truma on the oil. That which made truma on the olives, now you can make truma on the oil. So you don't always have to be chayes of v'toyrem. Only if the first olives not around. Only if the first oil is not around after you press the rest of the olives to designate it once again. Okay, now says Gemara, different brisa. Tanya, shnia lo tochal al teachal ad sheyotzi lov trumos. So if you took off the second batch of truma before you fix the fruit from maisrus, and when you fix them, you didn't have going to have a second truma. And since, this is very complicated. 1 second here. Okay, so let's start with the beginning. You took off truma, right? One of the cases we have to take off truma again. Doesn't matter which one. You took off truma A, right? That's so. Chaim said yitrom yachzor yitrom. The second truma, okay, when you take it off, it really doesn't become truma. It's still chayiv and maisrus because it's only truma d'Rabbanan on account of gzeira. It's not truma d'Oraisa. It's not even according to truma d'Rabbanan. It's not even real truma d'Rabbanan. It's only truma d'Rabbanan as a punishment. So therefore, you have to take maisrus of this truma mimokam acher. It's still tovel maisrus. It's not tovel the truma necessarily because we took off truma, the first truma, which is the primary truma, but it's tovel maisrus, right? It needs to have maisrus taken off of it. So we won't let you take it off maisrus from the same batch because that would mean it's no longer, you wouldn't regard it as truma, right? It would be a joke. Right? We're just treating it as cool, and you can't do that. So I think of maisrus mokam acher. So it says shnia lo tochel actually yotzila trumos umaisrus umaisrus. You have to take trumos umaisrus on it, and from another place. Now the maisrus, the truma you shouldn't have to take because the way it says like the truma yishon already took effect on the truma shnia. So the Gra takes out the word trumos. The others say, like the article keeps it in, and that it's talking about trumas meiser. Because trumas meiser is part of the meiser, so you have to still take off somewhere else. Rishon mahi. Okay, fine. What about the case which Rabbi Yossi just gave us, where it was Rishon? You took the first one, and Rechazer v'korei shame on it. So what about maisrus in this case? So you have to call. You have to do if you took off trumas and maisrus that way, and now we make you take off trumas and maisrus again? In other words, well, not again. Make you designate again. So the way the Kavanaki explains it is talking about that you made from the zaysim oil, only Kedei Truma, like we talked about before. The maisus you were mafish already, but zaysim on zaysim. Okay, so that does again you made, because that's case Rabbi Yossi. He took truma from oil on the olives, but he's adding on. You took meiser from olives on olives. Okay, so now it says you have to korei shem. Has kriya shem work? Madetanya, but now which in the brisa chazer ba'asa zaysim harishonim shemen. If you went back and made the original olives oil, but another harishonim yain, the original grapes into wine, korei shem ain't tzorech litrom shniya. You just designate a name, and you don't have to take truma again. Hadamara, this teaches us shu tzorech likro shem lemaisrus, that he has to be korei shem on the maisrus. The so the since it says in this brisa chazavasa zaysim rishonim shemen no rishonim yain korei shem ain't tzorech litrom shniya. I don't see how we see it from there. It doesn't say anything about maisrus. Let's figure this out here. Okay, this is a separate case. The case is like this. Somebody who says this brisa is Tosefta, different Tosefta. Somebody took off truma from olives on olives, but he had in mind to make them olive oil, and then he pressed everything. Based on he kept the truma olive separate. So all he has to do is korei shem on the on the new truma, which is now on the same truma, which is now oil. It came as truma. In order to be the truma should be from oil on oil as is proper. Same thing with the grapes. So this teaches us that even though it was olives on olives, since you intended to make it oil, so then you have to korei shem again. In that case, there's no differentiation between since the issue is not shem and al zaysim. It's not a case of geder mechatos. It's just a regular case, and yet you have to korei shem on the truma again. So it teaches us that even in regular cases, which includes maisus, you have to korei shem again. So that's there's no reason we call between truma and maisus, and we don't. So therefore, we have to korei shem on both. For truth in advertising, there are many different shatim here, in what we learned today about Rishon and Shniya. Okay, I went with the Kavanaki's pshat, which seems to be the easiest, but there are different shatim. I'm not going to get into them today. So we're going to go on. Now we're going on to the next part of the Mishnah. It says Tormin Shemen al Zaysim Nechboshim. You can take truma from this header in the article. It's not in the other in the Gemara. You take I don't think it's in the Gemara. The Gemara. Yeah, it's just two dots. So it's going on. You take shemen, take oil on truma on olives which are in the press, and wine. Take truma from wine on grapes, which is going to make them raisins. Okay, so what's the one has? Wait a second. Tina Basra. Let's learn what it says later on. At the end of the parak, it says Ein Torah Davar Shalom Malachto Davar Shalom Nigmar Malachto. You can't take truma something which is Nigmar Malachto and something which is not something which is not Nigmar Malachto. So how can you do it over here? So that's where and it sounds like there at least the chatchila shouldn't do it. Here it sounds like you need to do the chatchila. So why? How do we reconcile this? In Tamar, al davar shnigmar malachtohu, and if you're going to say that the olives which are already pressed and the grapes which are going to be made into raisins are considered davar shnigmar malachto, but then we learn hapered, which are pomegranates, which are going to be dried, atzimukin, raisins, charovin, and carob, which meant evidently they dried as well. Mishiamid arema, so they're only considered to be chayiv and shumas chayiv and maisus when you make a pile of the product, and that's after they're dried. Here we're saying after they're dried, it still has to be an arema, so it has to be a pile. So here you see that raisins cannot be considered nigmar malachta when the raisins have been made in a pile. Rabbi Yossi ben Shem Rabbi Yitzchak ben Melez said, "Ein lecha asur midavash malachto adavash malachto ela goren v'yekev bilvad." The only time when there's a problem, I'll tell you something which nigmar malachto adavash ein nigmar malachto is when we're talking about grain and about grapes. Goren is when you make a pile of grain. Yekev is when you press the grapes, and this doesn't apply by grapes where you're going to make them into raisins. That they're not going to the press. So that by him, Gemar Malach is not necessary. In Chavchil, you can be terem from that which is completely processed and that which is not completely processed. So that's an interesting distinction. I guess because there, the significance of the Goren and the Yekev, Goren meaning the completion of the process of the Truma, and the Yekev, the completion of the process of making wine, completion process of the grain and completion of the process of making wine are considered to be significantly different stages than olives under a press. So under the press are considered to be, I guess, already oozing, and therefore it's as if it's already oiled, right? There is a difference between not in that stage where it's nichboshin already, not when they're still sitting there, already under the press. And for the olive oil is not the significant difference as between produce before it is made into the goren, and when it's made to goren, and the difference between grapes before they are crushed and after they're crushed. But grapes that you're going to make into raisins, again, the difference is not that great that you should not be able to take truma from the grapes on the raisins. Okay. Now, of course, the question is, how do you take the truma? In what proportions? Because the substances are different portions here, grapes and raisins. Okay, but that's already on Tezvav Amud Aleph, and therefore we will leave it for here.